Greetings. We are live, and I just have to come on here and discuss macroaggressions. I just ate something with a lot of pepper in it, so I will probably be sniffing. And I hope that our connection is good because the area that I'm driving in, my connection is sometimes iffy. So I hope that it's good. But just in my day-to-day interactions and reactions and beings and doings, I many times think about, and this is because I am in constant communication with my ancestors, with my ancestral mothers in particular, since I am having this life experience in a black female body, then those are the ancestors that I am usually in contact with. And I'm doing after school pickups, y'all. So, I'm not my usual glamorous self. But I often wonder, like, wow, how was mama handling this? How was grandma handling this? How was Big Buddy, that's my great grandma, handling this? What were they doing? Because so much of what we deal with, my car has got some kind of weird shaking going on when I guess it's shifting. It's not a stick, but they still shift gears. So anyway, I gotta take it in to get that looked at. But so I'm saying all that to say this may shake a little bit. But I often wonder, like, how were they handling this? And I think we talk a lot about microaggressions because microaggressions for so long were a thing that we had to pretend was not happening. Like just a general feeling of hostility around you while you're at work or while you're out and about. I live in Florida, so sometimes there's a general feeling of hostility when you're just out in the world, like getting simple things done. So I know that microaggressions is a term that in these days and times we use a lot, because we had decades upon decades, possibly centuries of that not being a thing, or people gaslighting us when we said we don't feel safe. But I think we also have to make sure that we are taking into consideration the macroaggressions, you know? And when I say macroaggressions, I mean things like the housing crisis, the purposefully caused housing crisis. I mean things like food deserts, and not just food deserts, but the inability to eat because the food is so expensive. Things like that, I think, are actual macroaggressions. And while you are navigating those, whatever corporation you work for is usually in the process of doing something from time to time. They won't do it all the time, but from time to time, something crazy will happen with your check. I just remember being a little girl, and my mother worked for South Central Bell. And if you're my age, then you know that in those days, AT&T was several different companies. And South Central Bell was the company that AT&T was in this region. And it was a big corporation, an important corporation. In those days we had house phones, and everybody had to have a house phone. So working for South Central Bell was like working for the electric company. It was a sure job. You were never gonna not have a job, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm saying that to say that's the big corporation that my mother worked for. She had a corporate job. She moved into an upper management position, at that particular place. But even there, I remember there being times when they would mess up her check, when they would mess up her pay. I've worked for universities, and I remember working at universities where they would get my pay wrong. Even the last time I was working, I'm not right now, I'm just reading and researching at the university where I am here in Florida. But even when I was working there as a teacher, there were times when they would mess my pay up. More, several times, to be honest with you. So I feel like the housing crisis, the inability to afford food, the inability to afford like fuel for your vehicle, the inflation that is not in any way in step with the pay. I feel like all of those are macroaggressions. And then when you add that to being a black woman trying to navigate this society, and the fact that they sometimes just gonna mess up your check. So it's already a housing crisis. And sometimes they just gonna mess your check up. Right? So they know you're already pulling everything that you have together to house. And sometimes they just gonna mess up your check. That's a macroaggression to me. That's a macroaggression. And I'm saying obviously it exists within the system of white masculinist imperialism. Obviously it exists within the system of the patriarchy. So I'm not taking it outside of that. I'm not saying it's not a part of that system. But I'm calling it a macroaggression because it is an aggressive action that is done for the purpose of making you feel unstable. It's done for the purpose of keeping you in a state of fear. Terror. Terror is the right word. Because I'm too country and I'm too Scorpio and I own my own business. And so many parts of your own business are automated. So many money parts. Right. They already not paying you what you're supposed to be making. You get me seduced. So many of the parts that have to do with your money, and this is just my little tiny business, are automated. Once you put it in QuickBooks is automatically doing some stuff. And all of us who get paid from a corporation know that I had my car. They was looking at this shaking today, right? Somebody else had to drive my car while they were looking at it. And they always fuck up my seat. I know that I am not the tallest person, but I just feel like you should try to put people's seat back like they had it. But anyway, I have digressed. But to me, it is something that is set up to keep you in a state of low grade terror at all times. It's like don't let people get relaxed. Don't let people get comfortable. That's why I'm calling it a macroaggression. And as I was saying, these systems are automated. When we are getting checks from an employer, and all of us are employed by a corporation, whether we're aware of it or not. I know we like to try to pretend it's something different. I work for corporate America. Everybody works for corporate America. McDonald's is still corporate America. It's still a corporation. Publix is still corporate America. So we all work for a corporation. But I'm saying that to say these pay systems are automated. So most of the time, the way your check is coming out is automated. If something changes in my little money system for my business, if something changes super drastically, it's because I went in there and changed something. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you're not paying me for my full 40 hours, all of a sudden my check came and it was only for 10 hours, you went in there and changed something. You're going to try to make me believe, oh, it's some kind of glitch in the system. You're going to try to make me believe something like that. But I know how these systems work. They're not going to glitch to that extent. They might glitch, and do a little something. And I know, please don't come on and talk about, well, I know one time, the system actually had, of course, there are exceptions to every rule. But we're talking about just in general, systems are not glitching like that. Yeah, ADP, thank you. Systems are not glitching like that often. We can all sit on this live right now and think of it 3 times that they done fucked that check up. Now, you ain't telling me. Exactly. I got friends that work in HR, so I know they not hand doing payroll. So you're not telling me that that's not a macroaggression. In my eyes, that's a macroaggression. You go and you find the most vulnerable people in your employee group and you fuck their check up every so often. Yeah, that's a macroaggression. And because we all live in the same area, if I work in Palm Beach County, Florida, then everyone else that I work with, from the lowest to the highest, lives in Palm Beach County, Florida too. So I'm saying that all of them live near me. Obviously, neighborhoods are set up according to economic standard. But I'm saying that to say we all basically live in the same neighborhood. So how the fuck the much food costs. How fuck the much how the fuck much gas costs. How much rent costs, or your mortgage, or whatever. We have the same kinds of expenses. Yours may be higher than mine, yours may be lower than mine, but there's a median to that, right? So if she is waiting on this check every 2 weeks, and if I fuck it up and only pay her for 10 hours, that's throwing me into a serious crisis. That's a serious ass crisis. Y'all, one time I was working for this university. This wasn't here. This was back in Tennessee. And at that particular university, and this is the case for many people who work in a university system, we only got paid once a month. That happens a lot in that system. And 1 month, my deposit just didn't come. And I went to HR, and they said whoever was supposed to sign off on my new contract, because at the beginning of every year, academic year, your director and whoever else, had to re-sign your contract. And they said whoever was supposed to do the final signing of your contract didn't sign it, and that's why you didn't get paid this month. So I guess you're just gonna have to wait until next month. Wait until next month to do what? Eat? What are you talking about? Wait until next month to do what? Have lights and water? What are you talking about? But to me, that we made a mistake and only paying you for 10 hours. That's the same as saying wait until next month. You know what I'm saying? When they know good and well, prices being what they are, a motherfucker can't wait till next month. So to me, that's a macroaggression. That is a macroaggression. That is you making sure that you keep people at a level of terror. And I think that things are calculated. I'm a Scorpio. Like I said, I'm a country woman, and I'm older, and I've seen a lot in this world. I've seen a lot in this place, in the United States, in the South, all of that. And I really do believe that things are calculated. So I believe that they, pick and choose whose check they gonna fuck up. We're going to fuck up this many people's check on this level this time. We're going to fuck up this many people's checks on this level on this time. But it's a way to keep everybody at a consistent level of terror. Because once you are missing however many, thousands or hundreds of thousands that was supposed to hit your account, then you are in a fucked up state, And because they've made inflation so ridiculous, very few of us have like a backup savings account that can really hold us over. And even if you have a backup savings account, it's not capable of holding you over in the way that it maybe once was, with inflation being so high. So you may have a savings account, but its ability to hold you over is greatly lessened with these new prices. So I'm just like, it's a whole lot of shit that's just a macroaggression. Constantly talking about what bills are being passed in Florida. I swear to God, I have lived in the United States for the majority of my life, and I was not this hyper aware of what bills were passing every week. But because they're passing terrifying bills in Florida for people of color, for other marginalized communities, for gay people, for homosexual people, for trans people, because they're passing these kinds of bills, it's like now I always know. Every 2 weeks I'm getting an update. Like I never knew. I didn't know when bills was being passed. That was stuff that you researched when it was time for an election. But you didn't just know. So to me, that's you maintain a certain level of terror. Like you can't let people not feel terrified. You can't let them get into a relaxed state. You raise the prices of food sky high. So you know that most people are not able to afford that, or most people are not able to afford healthy options. So people are eating and they're hoping that the day is going to come when food prices go back down, or they're hoping that their pay is going to get higher so that they'll be able to afford better food. Very few people are just sitting up eating terrible food and basking in the fact that they eat terrible food. Most people are saying, when my ship comes in or when I start doing better, I'm going to get better food. That's what most people are saying. But you're terrified because you know that you're eating poorly, and you're hoping that your body doesn't break down before you're able to start getting better food. Yeah. So I was just thinking about that. I was like, just a constant state of terror, just a terror plateau that they keep you in. So you have those macroaggressions going on constantly, and then in your office, or your classroom, or wherever you work, microaggressions are going on too. So there's always a little snippy email. There's always a horrible meeting. There's always a review that doesn't really cover the work that you did, but that tries to make you look like you're the worst person in the world and attacks your character. So to me, those things are microaggressions. But you're contending with those at the same time that you're contending with the macroaggressions of not knowing when you're gonna eat. Having your car shaking and having to say, okay, when can I budget in taking the car to get the thing, the diagnostic, and fixing what's wrong with it. Like to me, that's a macroaggression. Okay, I got to budget that in because of how inflation looks. At a different point in time, you just take the car in and get it looked at. But now, because you got to budget so carefully for everything else, that has to be budgeted in. You know, that's a macroaggression. That's keeping people at a certain level of terror, a certain level of worry, a certain level of concern, so that you're never calm, you're never at peace. And that erodes everything. It erodes your relationships with your children, your relationships with your family, your relationships with your community, because everybody is in a state of worry, you know? So all of those things have been eroded. So yeah, that was just my thought for today as I was, calling to make the appointment to get things done for the car, and taking it in and having them look at something and saying we're gonna have to look at the other part later. And I was like, this is just a macroaggression. That's all that this is. You got me in a certain state to keep me at this level of terror. So I just wanted to share that. I'm gonna get around here and do my school pickups, and of course, you pull up to your children's school, and it's full of policemen, safe school officers, and you can't have a school that don't have those no more. Your child's school has to be completely covered in people who have on bulletproof vests. That's a state of terror. That's a state of terror. That's a macroaggression, and I'm happy that the school has it. But I'm still living in terror in that my baby's school has to have it. It's a level of terror. The only other country I've ever lived in is Barbados, and yes, it was much better there. There were still those same kinds of macroaggressions because it's still a capitalist society, but not having to contend with the microaggressions then made the macroaggressions doable for me. I'm not saying that is everybody's experience, but that's how I experienced it. The macroaggressions then I could just think of as life. You got a car, you're going to have to get the car fixed. That's just life. You need a place to live, you're going to have to pay rent or mortgage. That's just life. But you also don't want somebody giving you a bad review at work because you're black, or refusing to do the work in your class if you're a teacher because you're a woman, or saying you can't teach in your selected field even though you're a PhD candidate because you can't teach critical race theory anymore in this state. Those little things weren't happening. So when those small things weren't happening and I was just free to go and do my work and make my money, then the macro aggressions seemed to be handleable, surmountable, right? They weren't, it wasn't overwhelming. It was just life. I mean, even if there was not a capitalist system, right? Even if we just all, me and you, miscellaneous, had to get together and we were gonna go pick some mangoes off the tree, you and I would still have to make the effort to get the mangoes. So the effort that I have to do, or that I have to put in to get something, to me, the effort is not the problem, right? It is if me and you had to climb a mango tree to go get some mangoes, and somebody kept put the tree on some stilts and kept making it higher and higher when they knew we had to eat mangoes. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes it difficult. Outside of that, effort is going to have to be put in. So for me, macroaggressions are things that are done on purpose to make the natural order of life much more difficult. Because you're going to have to put in effort. You're going to have to work. Once we decide to be born, once we enter into the wombs of our mothers, we know that the physical realm is a place of movement and doing, and working. But working according to your actual capacity, right? If you, my neighbor across the street has a mango tree. So me and you, if we could reach him, then we got mangoes. Right in front of my yard, I have a date palm tree. So me and you, once we can reach them, we got dates. Right? That's two foods that are very, very nourishing to the human body. I think behind me and to the side is a coconut tree. Right? So if we can reach them, we got coconuts, we got dates, we got mangoes. Now we do have to be able to reach them. We do have to be able to climb the trees. We do have to be able to get to them. But if no one is putting them purposefully out of our reach, then we can have as many mangoes and as many coconuts and as many dates as we can gather. And so we're keeping ourselves safe, right? Dirt, the original houses were just made out of dirt. So once we can mix the dirt with some water, we've made a house, you know? So as long as we are artistic enough and skilled enough to mix the dirt with water, then we can make a house. The effort of mixing the dirt with the water, it's not going to take us out of here. It's not going to be problematic. But if somebody puts something in the way so we can't get to the dirt, or the water is locked up and we can't get to the water, then that becomes a macroaggression to me. But all right, I am picking up my people. Can I show you to the people? Can I show you on my live? Sure. I'm picking up these people from school. This person that y'all have known is now in high school. And I'm picking them up, her and my grandson up. They go to the same school. And so I will holler at you guys next time. Ecstasy, abundance, and bliss to all within the sound of my voice. Wish the same for me and mine. And as always, the lessons of life on those who wish us otherwise. Your people are speaking to you. They saying, hey, cousin. Hey, little sister. All right, y'all. Peace.